Thank you very much, Sriji, and I really appreciate all the efforts that you're doing. And uh, and good evening, friends from all over the world, wherever they are. And I'm honored that you have come with just such a short notice uh, to view this presentation. Earlier, you know what? I had thought I gave this name, or basically, I am this presentation as a scientific decoding of Brahmari Pranayam and its benefits. And little did I realize that it only depicted my sheer arrogance and stinking ego. Let that be very clear. The more I delved into this topic, after Sriji said, "Why don't you talk about Brahmari?" That time I gave him the topic, but essentially, the more I delve into this, I feel that it is just uh, too childish to decode something that big. However much science, I thought that I am a scientist or neuroscientist, that arrogance has got totally crushed because the more I delve into this, the more, as much neuroscience and science has provided the tools for exploration, the tools are as good as having a magnifying glass in my hand and somebody asking me, you go and find out the Milky Way. It's that childish for a scientist to decode something that fantastic like Brahmari Pranayam. So I take I am mighty sorry for being so arrogant and egoistic about the fact. Hence, I have changed the topic now to something like understanding Brahmari Pranayam. So it is definitely a rude awakening in my life. At this particular 1 week has been the most uh, growth and experiencing moment for me. It's just like I felt like, does Brahmari Pranayam, Yoga and Pranayam need my approval from a scientist? It's just like Albert Einstein going to a 5-year-old kid who has just now learned ABCD, and he says, "Okay, what do you think about this?" He says, the kid says, "Does it have A and B and C in that or not?" Einstein says, "Let me see." So he says, "No." Then it is not good enough. So people asking, scientists like me asking, "Oh, what is scientific about this yoga and pranayam?" It's just like that. So I am really, really, really sorry that I depicted my arrogance, Shriji, that I just suggested that topic earlier. I cannot really decode yoga and pranayam scientifically. The best way for me to learn or is to submit myself completely to this technology, because that's the only way I can learn. I cannot learn from a child's perspective. The only thing child's perspective is to become humble. So that's where it's at now. Tesla, long time ago, whom Einstein really admired, used to say that if you want to find the secret of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibrations. Now let's get to our where we started to figure out that back home we always go to some temple in south, temple in north, temple everywhere, and you always find in the entrance there is a big gong, the biggest sounding low frequency sounding gong is there in the entrance. And then as we go there are different frequencies of bells and different sized gongs and stuff. These are the ones. Then you go ahead into the garbhagriha where the deity is sitting, and you find the pujari has a very small, very high pitch sounding bell, right? So what is this communicating to us? It is communicating to us that we are traveling inside the temple or inside the deity or trying to understand the absolute truth through the mechanism of sound. And this is the low frequency, and gradually it is increasing in frequency till a point in time when you go to Garbha, and there you are with a very high frequency sounding bell. So this is just a depiction. We hardly knew this is what is happening with us. So irrespective of whether we know chakras, whether we know tantra, whether you know kundalini or whatever, you are being exposed to this sound which will be picked up by your own system, because we have those sound receptors in our various chakras. So after we come back from temple, or so what do we go for the temple for? For bowing down, right? And then what happens? We hear the sound, and then what we do? We hear the big chanting. There are some other things going on. After we come back home, or maybe we sit down there quietly, this is what is happening to us. Delta waves that associated with deep meditation and healing, empathy and compassion starts in our system. This is already happening without our knowledge. This is happening. The theta waves, which calms our entire being, and this is a beautiful wakeful state that we experience. So even though we don't do shavasana or yoga nidra, we do experience this while sitting there. The alpha waves, which is basically one of those uh, uh, most mind body integrating waves that we experience as in the wakeful state, also happens. Now when you do Brahmari, just simple Brahmari, after that, post Brahmari, these are the sounds, these are the brain, the frequency the brain is emitting after that. So 8 to 12 hertz frequency. And then the beta waves also has a very very strong attentive focused mental activity inducing waves, and these are also found in when you do super brain yoga or the Thopokaranakam is one of those small yogasans that we might have done by, because I have done that many times in my school without knowing, because I was mischievous and most distractive person. So the my teacher used to give me some exercise. Hold your ears with both the hands and do thug by thug, up and down. Actually, that is Thopokaranakam. In southern India, you will see this. The most devout people do that when they enter the temple. Now they are not punished by somebody for being mischievous, but that's what happens. It gets you into a very good decision making and focused mental activity. Gamma waves. This is my most favorite of the waves, which is very high frequency. Now you see the big. Now you, by the time you enter the temple, you have experienced very very low frequency, and when you go all the way into the Garbhagriha where this puja is going on, the Panditji is doing the very high frequency ring bell. That is the high frequency process. Now when you come back, these are the 38 to 100 hertz Brahmari pranayam kind of the first beginning of the Brahmari pranayam waves are getting generated in you. So that's the beauty of this one. Now how is it actually affecting us? You doing the yogasana, if you have attended, any of you have attended Sriji's yogasana program in the morning, Sunday morning or Saturday morning, you will know he chants these Bij mantras. These Bij mantras are Lam, Vam, Ram, Yam, Hum, Om, and then the Brahmari. So these are the different Bij mantras. Now you must have, you will be seeing the Om chanting, just simple Om chanting has 432 hertz frequency. Okay. Whereas if you chant these things in a sequence, the amount that reaches, like in the sequence, it's actually building up, just like the temple bells, the bigger the lower frequency going inside, that's how it builds up. So doing the Om chanting lies in the sequence, has a higher frequency vibration than just doing Om alone. And after that, if you do Brahmari, you reach a very, very high uh, uh, frequency vibrations to the tune of 800 to 1.2 kilohertz. Now, this is extremely creative in nature, very creative in nature. Not only does it creativity means you can get fantastic ideas, you not only get that, but it is creative means you can reformat your brain in a positive direction. Now, that's what I will be showing you little later. So these beej mantra, remember that lam, vam, rang, yang, hum, om, and then Brahmari. That's the sequence. Now, this slide I have already shown earlier, and this is about different regions of the brain that are being aroused by these beej mantras. So yam, yam, lam, vam, ram, yam, hum, om. These are the different areas that are getting activated in the process. So the Mooladhara will activate this particular frontal area. Swadhisthana will activate this frontoparietal. Manipura chakra activation will do the parietal. Anahat will do the temporal and the inside aspect, and Vishuddhi will do the occipital, which means visual cortex and other places. So this is what is happening. Om chanting itself, as I told you, produces 432 hertz frequency vibration. In Brahmari pranayam, the overall vibration frequency that is produced inside the human skull is about 800 to 1.2 kilohertz. Additionally, you must have heard in Varanasi, especially, I have been to this Kashi Vishwanath temple. There is a lot of fantastic chanting going on. I have zero understanding about what Sanskrit Veda chanting they're doing, but there have been some amazing research by some real crazy fellows from the West, especially from Max Planck Institute and Karolinska Institute. They have gone there to figure out what is this Vedic chanting doing actually. Vedic chanting does far lower to the higher range of frequencies depending on how long you have been chanting, how long you have been hearing, to 12 hertz to 1.2 kilohertz frequencies. They don't even have to do pranayam. Just sound itself, that particular intonation and the grammar and whatever that they do is unbelievable. And if somebody has not experienced this, in his lifetime, once in lifetime, you have to go there. I think Shyam Navathe knows his parents' home. They used to do a lot of this chanting. So now, as you know, this is one of the papers that I have found out long time ago, and it says that EEG proximal gamma waves is produced during Brahmari yogic technique, and they are studied in lot of detail. This Japanese lab is doing a lot of work. The lab name is a Machine Integrated Systems Lab, and it's a Riken Brain Institute laboratory. Riken Brain Institute laboratory is like NIH, and very, very select scientists are allowed to work there. I mean, not anybody can just get in there. So anyway, so Brahmari pranayam has couple of benefits. Number one is extinction of fear. It has a simultaneous processing from different brains. Now, there was one study which I have just now remembered, that there was a study published in Nature long time ago, which talked about multilingual people, how they will never have Alzheimer's disease. Multilingual people, those who speak different languages or speak 3-4 different, especially in Europe, most people do that. So they were very excited about this fact that, oh, we know this language, that language, and that is because the brain lights up differently in different areas. So, and they start to communicate with each other. So there is a simultaneous brain processing going on. Now, expanded consciousness, that I will be showing to you after I am done with the talk. I will be showing you just an experience of Brahmari, and after Brahmari you will have to sit down quietly for 5 minutes and experience that particular aspect. mental coordination, calmness, alertness, and mind body integration, and this thing happen. Now this is just the sound aspect of it, just one benefit which is already known in the yogic world. Now let's do some exploration into how healing happens in by you doing Bhramari pranayama. Now the same lab, this Japanese lab, they have done some work on, and this I am, if there is any good paper I have seen in my life, this is the one which has done such an exhaustive study on the humming, the anuswar M, the M anuswar, ma anuswar means the M of the Om is, they have studied very deeply on this. So what they have done is, that is something fascinating that can be used for us right now. The aspect of humming of the Bhramari has been shown to increase 15-fold plus of nitric oxide, and I was so amazed with this. When I read this paper, I had no clue that this is what is going on. But now I find there is something which is going on in this, and that is, number one is humming increases nasal nitric oxide level, and it has, this is the same paper continuation of that. And the place where this nitric oxide is produced is in the lumen of the blood vessel. If this is a blood vessel here, the cells lining, these blue cells lining the lumen, they produce nitric oxide. Second place where the nitric oxide is produced is macrophages. The macrophages are a part of a innate immunity mechanism. Innate immunity mechanism means whenever any foreign material goes inside your body, let's say if it goes inside your nose or in the epithelial cavity, in the tract, breathing tract somewhere, macrophages immediately sense it and they gobble it. And not only gobble it, but they produce nitric oxide which destroys them right away, right there. And the third place is the neurons. These neurons also produce nitric oxide. What is nitric oxide actually going to do? That it inhibits replication cycle of the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus. Now this work has been done in 2005 and this is 2020. I do not understand why people are not using this particular idea to destroy the coronavirus. Why are they are just playing around with we are making this, we are making that, and nothing is going to work. Please be aware that all the promises about vaccines is a big lie. I say with all responsibility this particular thing. It is a big lie. Vaccines, good vaccines take 5 years minimum to come. And if somebody says, oh, I have got a vaccine, or just go ahead and stand in the line to get that vaccination, you are in trouble. So nitric oxide, what it does, inhibits viral protein and RNA synthesis. Furthermore, these authors demonstrate that nitric oxide is generated by inducible nitric oxide synthase. An enzyme which produces nitric oxide also inhibits this virus replication. So the first thing is nitric oxide that is produced. Now, how does nitric oxide get produced? Whatever we eat, we have arginine in it, right? Arginine amino acid in it, that is the substrate for nitric oxide synthase enzyme to produce nitric oxide. Okay, so enzyme itself destroys the replication, and nitric oxide also destroys the assembly of all the proteins and everything. So double-edged effect it is having. So there was one paper in July of 2020 where in the American Journal of Respiratory and Critical Care Medicine, which talks about home nitric oxide means body own synthesized nitric oxide as a therapy for COVID-19. Now these papers are somehow not being talked at NIH circle, and I think Fauci does not want to talk about it, or probably knows it, but he doesn't want to discuss this matter. These are the papers one should be talking about and understand. Now forget about all that. Let's produce our own nitric oxide through Bhramari. So This gentleman, Dr. Teneja, I am such a fan of this man. He's fantastic. He used this knowledge and he said, okay, I am going to do this. So he took several patients and he tried them on right away. He said, this is it. I am going to try. What happens is, after having done the Brahmari Pranayam, these are four possible benefits that he has reported. Number one, nitric oxide reversed pulmonary hypertension. That is the first sign that coronavirus patient, when he goes to the emergency, the emergency medicine doctors see this is the pulmonary hypertension. He reversed it by using Brahmari. Second, improved severe hypoxia. Now, hypoxia means the oxygen content in our body is 198 plus something. But with coronavirus infection, what happens is you cannot breathe deep enough because it causes some kind of a resistance in your alveoli and all that. So it causes severe hypoxia, which means carbon dioxide is increasing in you and oxygen level is going down. It improves severe hypoxia and shorten the stay in the ICU and the ventilator support. Nitric oxide increase the survival rate. Now, if such doctors are doing that kind of work in India, I think the world should note this. This is important. Second thing is humming the M Anuswar, M chanting of that mantra is increase the endogenous generation of nitric oxide 15-fold. In this, he also observed the same thing. Now, in addition to that, nitric oxide has been shown to prevent coagulation, because what happens is the epithelial lining and the blood capillaries, they are all very, very tightly interlinked here. There is some, because you are increasing your trying to breathe harder, these capillaries break and they form clots, and they go around in the body. If they go in the brain, done, you are finished. So that's what he has been able to show, that this Brahmari Pranayam causes nitric oxide increase in our system, which has benefits par excellence. Now, nitric oxide and its role in immunity, it's not new. This has been like, this is a review paper. This is such a fantastic review paper. You'll see. I'm just giving you some teasers here. The entire mechanism of how nitric oxide plays a role in immunity is, and it is the biggest help in our own body's immune mechanism. Now, this is the potential benefit that it has: kills coronavirus, increases immunity. The Brahmari Pranayam, basically. Now, I'm going to show you a very small video. This is about the third benefit that I'm showing. How many people have done in their high school class an experiment with using tuning fork of a particular vibration frequency, and they dip it, either they have another vibrating another tuning fork sitting next to it, but it gets vibrated because of the resonant frequencies, things like those kind of experiments we did when we were young. So this is the kind of an experiment. I'm going to show you small video here. So this is the tuning fork that is sitting in put inside the water, and you can see different waves going on here. Okay. Actually, I am trying to deduce from this particular small demonstration what is going on here. Now, the idea of showing that experiment was, if there is if there is some frequency generator here, don't you think if there are some cells lining this container, this will try to migrate out because of the waves that are hitting it, right? That's the logic, right? So suppose these cells are there, quiescent cells basically means they are ready to, they have a job, but they require some stimulus. So if sound is there, these fellows can move out and try to do the job that they are supposed to do. Right now they are quiescent, but they just need some bump, some encouragement. Okay. So what happens is sound waves have been shown to cause neural differentiation in the brain. In vivo and in vitro studies have been shown the pulse electromagnetic field and sound waves have been shown to promote neural differentiation. So there's this study in the biotechnology progress in 2017 has shown that pulse electromagnetic field and sound can enhance the possibly and affect the differentiation of mesenchymal stem cells into neural cells. So they say that their study is meaningful for highlighting the potential of combined wave for neurogenic effects and providing new therapeutic approaches for neural cell therapy. So the hypothesis is now I'm just like a science student would like to propose a hypothesis. Brahmari pranayam causes neuro regeneration. What is the proof that the cells that you are trying to show are actually moving like this? So now in the brain there are some cavities which are filled with liquid, and that liquid is known as cerebrospinal fluid. This green area is called ventricle, lateral ventricle, and in different lateral view and anterior view you will see these blue areas is also fluid filled area. Now the cells lining this green and the brown interface, see that the place where my marker is, the cells over here are the ones which are quiescent and they can migrate into the striatum. This is called striatum, this brain, the cortex area. This area they can migrate provided given the right signal. Okay, so that's what I want to share with you. Now this is what I have been trying to show you, and I am going to show you another video, small video. This video is even better than what I had shown to Firoz a long time ago. uh, I'll you see the brown part, this portion uh, above the pink, above the violet purple portion, the brown part is the one that are migrating out the cells. It will be shown very nicely after, within few seconds. I see it. That. Now these guys are future Nobel laureates. I can trust this particular person who has made this video is a potential Nobel laureate down the road, because he has, because of his technique and confirming that neurons do migrate, and giving, and if I use the logic of the previous paper which I talked about, where the mesenchymal stem cells can become neuron or can be promoted to differentiate into neurons, This is the place where the stem cells are sitting. This subventricular zone stem cells. This is the place. And if you trigger them, and now you say, what about if this is being triggered by that, does nitric oxide play a role in? Yes. And another place where this uh, new neurogenesis happens is in the hippocampus area, this particular pink area here, this whole thing. And this is the entire like three-dimensional reconstruction of this particular uh, area. Now these are the two areas, neurogenic zone we call that in brain, in neuroscience, and they are the ones which can be triggered to create new neurons wherever there have been depletion. Let's say for instance a trauma happens, the brain cells die. Alzheimer dementia happens, brain cell dies. These things can be used to trigger those. So Brahmari Pranayam is not just some kind of a hearsay deal here. I mean, I am fired up. I don't know how else. I mean, do we even know Brahmari Pranayam enough to tackle all these problems? I don't think most people don't know this. Nitric oxide is a donor. Nitric oxide donors have been shown in 2017 to cause nerve regeneration. This is the paper. So Brahmari Pranayam has effects on neuro regeneration, but how do we get nitric oxide in the right proportion? Because nitric oxide has double biphasic properties. One is it is very beneficial. If it is extremely high, it can cause damage. So the right amount, brain knows. So if we do the right Brahmari Pranayam, that's what it will help. Now, obviously, this bat, which we always allude with coronavirus, now this fellow is dying, but he wants to tell you that even though I am dying, if you want to survive, use sound frequency and vibrations. So this is our Tesla Batman. So Tesla Batman is telling us, use sound to fix your life. Thank you very much. Now what I will do is I will demonstrate, and I would rather have you all do Brahmari Pranayam with me. Okay. Everyone sit straight. Sit as much straight as possible with the spine erect. Now, most of the time we have one thing is that either our left nostril is open or the right nostril is open. Most of the time it cycles, right? Brahmari Pranayam effect can be best seen if we have both the nostrils open. So if the one nostril is not working properly, so what you do is there are a couple of ways you can do it. You can, let's see if my left nostril is not working. So I breathe in and out through left nostrils, like try to do as much as 10 or 12 deep breathing through that. And then if suppose if both are functioning fine, now there is another method of doing the opening of the nostrils. It is if you make a fist like this, if your left nostril is not working, take your left hand and put it below the armpit of your right hand like this and press it hard, right? Or if your right nostril is not working, use the right hand and press it against the left hand armpit here like this. I'll show you once again. Okay, like this. Okay. If both nostrils are not functioning to this fullest possibility, do this then, right? Or take a ball, tennis ball, and put it here. It works, I can tell you that. So anyway, once both the nostrils are functioning great, what you do is do inhalation and exhalation using alternate nostrils. Now, what I do is take these two fingers, and place it on your left nostril, and the right finger of your right hand on the right uh, right nostril. So first of all, take deep breath, and couple of deep breaths. You inhale and exhale. After that, you exhale out completely, and then close your right nostril with your thumb and breathe in with your left nostril. Close the left nostril and breathe out using from the right. Breathe in through the right, close, breathe out through the left. Breathe in through the left. That way you keep doing 10 or 12 such alternate nostril breathing. That will give you uh, clearance of both the nostril very nicely. Okay. Then what you do is this. Take your middle finger, keep it gently on your eyeball with your eyelid closed, right? The index finger above your eyebrows, this particular, the ring finger touching the nose here, uh, and the left and the small finger is touching your chin, almost right here. Now these are the different meridian points that you are pressing actually, right? All these are meridian points. Okay. And then the thumb, you close it like this. You got it? Like this. These buds needs to be pressed gently, not too hard. So this is again, let's do it. So we all will do 5 times, and take deep breathing 5 times, and then do the M chanting. The M, just without opening your mouth, say like this. And you can vary the thing by touching the teeth to each other or whatever. You can do all the experiments with this. Okay. So I'll start, and after we are done with that, we'll just sit quietly to soak up the juice, the real juice. Okay. Actually, sitting quietly post Brahmari is most beneficial, most extremely fantastic to experience to have. So let's do it. क्षणमेवावशिष्यते. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. हरिः ॐ. श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः. हरिः ॐ. You can open your eyes, rub your palm against each other, place it on your face and gently open it. Okay. Now, the beauty of this Om chanting, actually it is Om chanting, but we have to say only. Now, when you chant Om, the A sound comes from your throat. You come from the middle of the throat, mouth cavity, and when the lips are sealed. So basically what we are trying to do is traveling from duality towards a you is half dual and half non-dual, almost like Bose-Einstein condensate. in particle physics you call that, right? And M is non-dual, and when you are sitting quietly, transcending non-dual also. And if you sit for another 45 minutes just like that, you will be so awake, you will be so aware, and yet you will have zero thought. You are in control of your thought that time. If you say I don't want thought, that's what you will not have thought. You, whatever you decide or determine that time shall happen or shall not happen, whichever way you feel like. That's the power. We are going into that zone, which is basically unmanifest state of creation. That is the power of Brahmari. Now you think neuroscientists can do any justice to this? Isn't it arrogant on my part to say, oh, scientifically I'll understand this? No way. So I submit, like there was one Mount Everest climber, of Canadian Mount Everest climber, who was asked, how does it feel to conquer Mount Everest? He says, you don't conquer Mount Everest. You submit yourself there. And if the Mount Everest wants, it will help you. It will allow you. Just like he said that the entire area is where Mother Nature hangs out. You don't try to conquer that area. This is Brahmari, and the subsequent thing that you experience, it is experiential science. You cannot talk about it. You cannot talk because it's not, the words are not important. Words have no relevance there. It was before the sound. Bible says there was a word, and then the word became the creation, right? That is the prior to word we are talking about. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. And now you can ask me any questions you feel like, and that will be great.
Thank you, Dr. Shekhar, for your
Thank you, sir.
wonderful
Thank you.
presentation.